make sure that you add in transitions. Make sure that you vary sentence openers. Use elements like your ly openers or lys, your strong verbs. Use strong descriptive words, which are going to be your strong verbs, your quality adjectives. When you're transitioning, make sure that you review, do not preview. Review, do not preview. Yes, ma'am.
So in the book, it has a transitioning sentence of the last paragraph that you're going into. You do not want us to do that. You want the transition to be in the first sentence of the new paragraph.
Correct, because you will get nailed on that in academic papers. So I don't want you to get in the hang of doing that on these type papers, because then that's what you will continue to do. You will get nailed on it if you preview. Okay? Absolutely, without question, one of the things that killed most of you all on your critiques was the fact that you did not have somebody edit your papers. Have someone to edit your paper. Please have someone edit your paper. There's no reason to lose 10 whole points on grammar if somebody has edited it. Okay? Where does your title come from?
The last sentence.
The last sentence, so your final clincher, so the very last sentence of your entire paper is where you get your title from. I have been known to give extra credit for exceptionally good titles. Okay? So just keep that in mind. I have been known to do that. When you turn your paper in next week, okay, you will email it to me, and we're going to say, as long as I have it before you get to class on Monday morning, I'm fine, in my inbox. Okay? So not a hard copy, but when you turn things in class, you have to turn in your graphic organizer and you have to turn in your brainstorming paper. Your graphic organizer, some of you had more to fix than others did, and that's okay because you're all still learning. I want you to make sure you turn both of them in. Okay? So if you had to redo something, make sure you turn both of them in.
Next week?
Yes. This paper is due before you enter my classroom on Monday morning. That gives those of y'all who do school on weekends, which baffles me beyond all belief, that gives you the weekend to finish it if you need to. Okay? Do you have any questions about this paper? Yes, sir.
Can we send it in on Google Docs or?
I want it sent in on Google Docs, without question. Has to be sent in on Google Docs before you walk in class. If you have any question. Okay, I'm handing out a list to you that you have to keep and bring back. Okay? It is a list of possible descriptive essay topics. I don't want you to stress over this. This is where your next descriptive essay will come. You have hit the part of the semester we have written only one paper before today that you've had to do. Over the next several weeks, you will have a paper due about every other week. Okay? This week, my suggestion is you go ahead and start looking over this list and start figuring out something that you want to write your next essay about, because next week you also need to make sure that you bring in another copy of your graphic organizer that you prefer, because you're going to start doing that. If you have an idea that is not on here for a descriptive essay, you are welcome to ask me if you can do that. But most people need a list. Okay? So don't fret over this right now. But really, with your graphic organizers as well done as they are, you should not have You should not have a hard time writing this paper this week. The hard work should already be done. Okay? So no more questions on that? All right. Wait,
Are we
yes.
writing 2 papers this week? Are we doing something like that?
No, you're just looking over that to get an idea of what you want to write your next paper on. Okay?
But next week we need to bring graphic organizers that we like to class.
Yeah, because we're going to work on those during class.
So we can pick any of these next
You can pick any of those.
Oh,
Okay?
I know.
You can pick any of them. Okay, and if one of these sparks a thought of something else you would rather do instead, you can run it by me. Okay? Okay? Any questions about that? All right. Get out your strong poison book. May or may not need it. The good news is this is the last book that you have to read this semester, unless you're doing the extra credit. Yes, sir.
I didn't read one because it didn't say anything on the syllabus.
Oh
I
my
didn't.
gosh, you're fired. You
You're no
failed.
longer favorite student grade.
You lost your. You know, it's funny at my house. My kids have always gotten irritated. Now they just ignore me about it. But when they were little, they get so mad. They say, "Why does so and so get to do blah blah blah? Why do I have to?" Because he's my favorite.
You sound like boys.
She's my favorite. And it's funny because I tell my Grace all the time, "You're my favorite daughter." That's what
My mom says
But
that to
you
me
know
too.
what she says is,
I'm your only
"I'm your only daughter," and you know what my response is? "Wouldn't it be sad if you weren't my favorite?" See? But one day I'll have daughter-in-laws, so she could lose that status.
Oh, she'll have something to keep up with.
Okay, strong poison. Did you see it coming as far as how it wound up? As
Yes.
far as how it happened?
Mark did.
Kind of.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay. Did you think Harriet was going to marry him?
Nope.
Do you? Okay, let me tell you a secret. This is not the only Peter Wimsey book.
There's like
Okay.
5 of them.
Okay, and Harriet is still in some more of the books. Do you think they will marry?
No.
No.
No?
No.
You all who liked this book? 1, 2, that's it. Really? Y'all didn't like, I love this book.
I liked it better than the other ones because, like, I like mystery books.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it was kind of like, with the mystery thing, it kind of like went on like describing like the scene of how he possibly died, like describing the omelet. It was kind of repetitive a little bit, in my opinion.
So the description was overdone. You felt like it was too wordy? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and just kind of like, I don't know, I feel like I don't know. I just,
Why, the rest of you didn't like it. What did you not like about it? Yes.
The word usage. It kind of confused me.
Okay, so the language in it definitely has more of a British tone to it. Because, guess what? Dorothy Sayers is a British author. So, yeah, that's going to happen. But that really makes a difference for some people. Grady?
it was too slow.
It was too slow.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, Sue. Now, whose phone is that? Duncan Stitt.
The one time I remember to bring it, it was on
Okay. It was too slow. How would you have just made the story shorter?
Yes,
Or would you
it
have
could
put more
have
action
been.
in it?
It could have been summed up in like 14 chapters instead of 20, like 21 or 22.
Okay. Okay, yeah.
My mom just sent me a text about Tom Brady.
Well,
She knows I'm in class.
My mom
Wow.
texts me in
Message
class and then
Cindy
gets mad when I
Stitt.
don't respond. I got you in class.
I have a student in my class that may fail because his mom keeps texting him, period. Any idea who that might be? Question mark? Love Cindy Stitt.
Here's your message. Ready? Okay, it's sent.
That's what she said.
Wait, she
Yeah.
just texted me again.
Okay.
Oh
Okay.
wait, that was Dad.
Hannah, what did you not like about it?
It's just kind of bland.
It was boring. What kind of book do you like to read?
Yeah, I like to read.
What kind of books do you like?
Not a bunch of like old English and stuff.
So for you, the diction was irritating as well? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Elijah, what about you?
I don't know, I thought it was boring.
You don't like to read though.
I don't like to, I only like to read like survival books and stuff.
like chop down the tree and dig a hole, like that kind of stuff. I don't know what to say about that. Yeah.
I wish it, like, I know this sounds kind of dumb, but I wish there was more action in it.
Okay. But that would have changed the whole thing. The whole point was the murder was so discreet, and so like discretion was huge in this.
The only thing I didn't like about the book was I hated Harriet.
You like? Why did you not like Harriet?
She was too like liberal for me.
What do you mean?
Like all of her beliefs, like just like I don't know, like I just didn't like her character all around. Like just thinking about her, she was just like.
Okay. Well, it was funny, you know. Here's the thing. What? Okay, let's back up. What? Blake and I were talking about this morning. What time period do you think this book is set in? Because it's set and it never really directly says.
I thought it was the 1930s.
Think about the 1930s.
1910.
1910. Okay. So would Harriet Vane have been a popular woman? Would she have been readily accepted by society during this time? Why not?
She was a woman and it was really sexist back then.
Yeah, that's part of
But
it.
everything she believed went against society. Like marriage, living with him, everything like that.
Yeah, I mean, she tells him, hey, I won't marry.
References.
And here's the main thing, even when he asked her again to marry, I won't marry you, but I'll live with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that isn't.
I'm
Okay.
scared of commitment. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just confused by her. I don't like her.
You don't like her. Do you, okay. Was she feminist for the day, do you think? For that
Yeah.
time period?
I feel like she was.
But sexual sins during that time period were hidden.
Yeah.
Crazy. What did women do? Okay, think about this for a second. See if any of y'all know this. If a woman in the 1910 and 1930s got pregnant out of wedlock, what did she do? What happened to her?
Was she basically shunned by him
Yeah.
pretty much?
Kind of. Yeah.
I don't know.
They would send her, most families would send her away to a different family member and basically hide them for 9 months. I mean, quite literally.
Yeah.
Because the ramifications socially were so bad that they would send them away, and then a lot of times they would take those babies away and give them up for
Yeah.
adoption. They would pass the baby off as another family member's. Do you see what I'm saying? I mean, there was all kinds of things they did. You would have babies all the time born who were raised thinking someone was their mother who was not. And it was because of that. So, you know, one of the big things about society nowadays is they say, oh, sexual sins are so bad, like everybody is doing this and all this. Is it really more now than it was then?
Not really. It's just more accepted, per se.
Okay, so you're the only person to answer. Do you think that there was more of that now than there was, and let's just talk heterosexual for a second, let's not get into all the other stuff. But is there more of that now than there was in the 1930s? Yep,
Like you said, if it was hidden, then you wouldn't really know.
yep.
It's not as hidden as today. Like, we saw a person yesterday in our neighborhood, she looked around 17, she had a kid in her hands.
Well,
And then-
here, it was, okay, again, it goes back to society,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we're sitting here in a Christian co-op, right? And I bring up this sin, and all of you all, I mean, you can watch the whole thing. Everybody goes, she's talking about that, okay? Because that's not something that is accepted in our circle, right?
Yeah.
Well, like if there was somebody that came to join our co-op who was pregnant, who was, you know, can you imagine the new girl at co-op walks in and she's 17 and her belly's quite round? I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
what would happen in this co-op?
Everyone would be talking about her. Because that was the norm.
Yeah. How many of you have been in public school? Has anybody been in high school, public school? Okay. Were the people pregnant? Yeah. Did anybody, I mean, yeah.
Well, I was in a private school last year, and this girl just all of a sudden got pregnant. And she had like a ton of plans for the future, like she was going to be an actress and everything. Like she had already signed, and she just got pregnant. And it was just like a shock, because nobody expected it.
Do you think that the response, I'm sure it was a shock, and probably there were things said, but do you think the response in that environment would have been different than what it is here in a homeschool co-op.
Probably.
How so?
A lot of people supported her for it, like they're kind of acting like it was a great decision, which I thought was kind of weird.
So you have to look at social context. That Harriet Vane, when this book was even published, y'all, I mean, this was crazy. A woman just saying, hey, I'll live with you. Hey, I mean, not only was she participating in behaviors, but she was also not ashamed of it at all, right? So, I mean, that plays into a lot of it. So that brings me back to the next question. 2 questions I want to talk about specifically about your plot chart. What was we talked about the theme. Grady brought up a few weeks ago that he felt like the theme was
Feminism.
feminism, okay?
Not feminism, sexism.
Sexism. Sexism. Do you see any other themes in this story? Duncan?
I have a little bit around.
No, that's fine.
Crime, guilt, and innocence.
Crime, guilt, and innocence. Okay? What else? Blake?
The mystery of death.
The mystery of death. Well, in this situation, the death was a mystery. Yeah. Kaylee?
I had not to judge, because I felt like that was like a theme, like don't just like judge as soon as you see it. Like I felt like that was kind of a theme by the author.
Yeah, because, and how did that play itself out?
It was a mystery, so like you couldn't just say that she was innocent and not. But I think also like in Harriet, like her going against everything, I felt like it was kind of a theme like the feminism thing, like not to judge.
Right.
Like
Well, and all
Don't
of
judge me for the
everything
person.
pointed toward her.
Yeah.
Every single thing pointed toward her. Grady?
I also saw innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah. Do you think that was really played out?
Towards the end of the book, yes. Because Whimsy had finally found out, like, oh, it's Urquhart or whatever. But he knew exactly who it was. He just couldn't find like enough evidence to support it at the time
Right.
until he did. And he can't say, oh, Urquhart killed this man because he has absolutely no proof to prove him guilty.
Right. Right. But it wasn't quite the case with Harry at the beginning. Yes.
I feel like the power of love was a really important topic because if he hadn't had love for Harriet Vane, he wouldn't have even taken up the case because it looked like the case was impenetrable against Harriet Vane.
I don't agree with that.
Okay. How so?
Well, I don't think that was all why he took the case. I don't think that was the entire reason why he took the case was because he loved her.
I don't even get why he loved her.
Come on. Did he love her?
No, he was infatuated with her. He found her interesting. It's completely different than love.
Mark, you're shaking your head.
No, I was agreeing with her.
Oh, you're agreeing
God.
with you're agreeing with somebody by shaking your head.
No, I was sort of like just doing that. I wasn't really sure.
Okay.
I think it was 3 reasons why he took the case. I think it was because he was infatuated with her, Justice and the chase. Because it's kind of funny because I was writing this down, like annotating some of it, and then I watched the video and y'all were talking about it, and so I was like, oh, well.
You're like, I needed to be in class talking about this.
But I thought, like, he was a detective, so he did kind of have a need for, like, justice. Like, he did like to solve cases. I mean, that was kind of obvious, and this was a pretty intense case. He was infatuated with her. And then the chase. Like, I feel like guys kind of value something more that isn't, like, thrown at them. And so she wasn't easy. She wasn't easy to get. So I feel like he wanted to try to, get her. I'm trying to figure out exactly what I said. This is just what I put. I said infatuation played a role as well. It's almost impossible to say that he loved her. At this point, he loved her for selfish reasons. He loved her for himself. He loved her for how she made him feel. However, he did not truly love her for who she was. I guess you could say he loved her by the world standards, but not what love truly is. And then, so I said he was just infatuated with her. He valued justice. Oh, he liked the challenge of winning her. Therefore, it might not have been the object of love, but the thrill of the chase for Whimsy. While I believe it was mainly the thrill of chase, it was not entirely. And then,
Okay. Man, I wish we had more time because there's something you said that I wanted to go back to, but I can't.
I actually really agree with that, and I think that was sort of my point at the start. I sort of used love in the wrong way, I guess, so it could be the power of infatuation.
Power of infatuation. Infatuation, in some ways, can appear stronger than love.
Yeah.
Because it's feelings.
Because you're stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, for real. Okay, where do you think the climax of this story occurred?
When they found the will.
When they found the will.
I thought it was when they found like the packet and how do you pronounce that guy's last name? Was it Norman
Urquhart?
Urquhart's office and his abuse and like figuring out. I thought that was kind of.
You think that's when the climax happened?
Could be wrong. So I'm open to people telling me I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree that I think it's when the will was found. Stink it! It's 10:23. Why are they ringing it now?
We don't have to.